So welcome. Hey, we had quite a week, didn't we? First day of spring. Isn't that awesome? You know, first day of spring, life is the vernal equinox. Life's all about being and living and being in your aliveness. And to me, that's what spring's all about. Spring reminds me of my aliveness. Spring reminds me of that force, that juice, that substance that goes on in the area that we cannot see, that we may not even be able to fully understand and comprehend, yet it springs up, doesn't it? Every single year, right about this time. And it reminds me of our aliveness that is right here within each and every one of us, too. And I tell you, it's been a month of aliveness around here. At least it has for me. There was the conference, then there was the gong bath. That was just an incredible experience and a huge success for us here in this community. There was the leadership retreat last weekend with the ceremonial sacred sweat at the very end. And then on Monday night, the Mystical Traveling Sisters group, we had this incredible Tibetan singing bowl presentation that we got to participate in. You know, and then it just keeps going all week long. Then we had class Tuesday, court council meeting Wednesday, class Thursday. I'm telling you, my feet are literally still not touching the ground from this incredible month that we've had. And it's all about living our aliveness. And I am truly embodying and embracing that right now. And I believe that it's all because of being open to Spirit. How open are we to Spirit right now in our lives? Right now. How open are you to Spirit? Right now. Because I know for a fact that when we are open to the greatness that we can be with Spirit, to the divine with absolutely no preconceived ideas or expectations, then that's when our feet don't touch the ground. That's when we're in the flow. And to me, it kind of feels like being on vacation. You know that feeling when you go on vacation, you're like, woohoo, I get to be free, you know, I get to be any way I want. Can't put me in a box. Don't you put me in a box. I'm on vacation. Well, to me, that's what it's like when we open ourselves up to the divine. And speaking about boxes, let me tell you a little bit about boxes. I tell you what, now I've come up with a strategy of what box? Boxes? There's no boxes around here. What box? Because those little buggers have been bugging me ever since we moved. I've got a few still laying around the house. Yeah, he laughs because he knows what I'm talking about. Oh, those little buggers, I tell you. Now, at first they were just getting on me. You know, I've got to get to that. I've got to get the china cabinet fixed so I can put the china away. And now I just don't see them. Boxes? What boxes? There's no boxes there. Yet I'm not really sure that's serving me too much either, because I'm kind of missing my china, and I'm kind of missing, it's mostly in my office. I've still got a bit of a stack of boxes there. So that's how we can kind of relate to these boxes that we have in our lives. We know they exist, and we're gonna this morning, we're gonna explore. We're gonna explore about the boxes that we hold ourselves in, the boxes we hold other people in our lives, and the boxes that don't exist. How do we dissolve those? And then how do we truly take a look at the ones that we're imagining are not there, but are, that I stumble around almost on a daily basis when I go into my office? So those darn boxes. Well, let me tell you, boxes are limiting, period. No matter which way you look at it, it's a limiting concept and a limiting way of looking at life and perceiving things. These perceptions limit how much we experience ourselves and others. And I'm going to go into some examples of what I mean by that. So this morning we're going to explore that. So perception, here's an example of what I mean by that. I'm sure just about everybody here this morning has some form of wallet, whether it's in your pocket or it's in your purse. You've got some form of wallet that we call a wallet that we keep our identification in and our forms of being able to pay, different currencies. Well, let's take a look at that wallet. Does the size of that wallet determine your abundance? When I look at my wallet, do I say, well, this is all I can take in because this is all I have a container to hold? That's a perception. That's a definite perception. You know, your wallet doesn't determine all that you can receive, but that's kind of what we do with these boxes that we hold in our concept, in our being, in our perception. I was working with someone this week who was going on and on about this person that they knew they were going to have to talk to eventually. And she just kept saying, well, she's like this, and this is how she answers to everything, and this is how she comes across, and this is how she approaches things. And she just kept going on and on and on about how this person was going to respond to whatever it was she was going to talk to her about. She had it all figured out before the conversation ever took place. And so I asked her, I said, well, first of all, we know that the universe always says yes. So if you have already written the transcript of this conversation that you're going to have with this person, don't be surprised if it doesn't fall out exactly the way you just described it. Because that's what you're looking for. And we know that whatever it is that we're looking for is what we're going to experience, no matter what. I was like, why don't you give this person a chance? Why don't you give this person a chance to have grown into themselves and to experience who they're showing up to be today? Mary Morrissey in our class this past week said, it was great. She said, the most evolved person I know is my tailor, for he measures me anew every time I see him. What if we measured everybody anew every time we experience them? How many times have you gone to have a conversation with somebody and you have literally already written the transcript of that conversation out in your mind? You already know exactly what they're going to say back, exactly what they're going to do, but we don't, do we? That's a box. That's a particular box. So I'm inviting you to create the space for shifts to occur. Just create the space for shifts to occur. It's like being on vacation. What if you really had never met this person ever? You know, we're like that. I think when we get on the elevator or where we're interacting with somebody in a place that we normally don't frequent, we allow them to be whoever they are. We have no preconceived idea or expectation, and we certainly show up with however we want to be because we know they don't know us. They don't know how we normally are, normally. You know, I want to tell you a story. In 2006, this is 2006, y'all. Harold Ford called his friend Melody Hobson saying that he was running for U.S. Senate in Tennessee and he needed some national press. So Melody helped her friend out and called a friend to organize a major media organized lunch so that he could get some national press. Melody and Harold arrived at the reception saying that they were here for the lunch and they were taken to the back room. Then they were asked, where are your uniforms? Now here's something I didn't tell you. Melody and Harold were African American. They organized this lunch. Harold was running for U.S. Senate. They arrive at the lunch place saying, we're here for the luncheon, and the people at the restaurant immediately took them to the back thinking that they were there to work the luncheon and asked them, where are your uniforms? So the friend that was organizing this luncheon showed up about that time, came running in, and Melody turned to her and said, don't you think we need more than one black person in the U.S. Senate because of this experience? This was 2006. Perfect example of the box this restaurant was working on, and this box and this perception that we've got going on still today around when we see and meet someone and they come across our experience, how much of them do we think we already know just based on what it is that we're viewing or what we have in our perceptions? That's a box, y'all. So slide number 4, if you could go to slide number 4, I have to share this with you. Here's another box. This is my son. Okay, this is what the mother is saying. This is my son Chester, who is nearly 4 years old. He was invited to his friend Chloe's birthday party today, and the theme was Prince and Princesses. He asked if he could go as Sleeping Beauty, so I bought him a dress and put a clip in his hair. We arrived at the party to the following comments from the adults present. This is great. Oh, that is just cruel. Why did you make him wear a dress? That poor little man, what's your mommy playing up to? He's going to hate you when he grows up. No way I'd let my son wear a dress like a girl. Now she goes on to say, interestingly enough, not one kid said anything negative towards him about it except to compliment him on his cool costume. Now that's a box. So I'm going to invite you right now to think, for all the parents out there that may have a son or may have a daughter when you were young, would you have let her dress up as Snow White? That's what I'm talking about. As we get out of our boxes, we're going to work on this morning about dissolving our boxes. Because what is it that we're here to do? That aliveness that's within us, to show up as that perfect divine expression of God as we are uniquely embodying it. We get to present that aliveness in the way that it shows up, in our creativity that flows through us. It's a beautiful thing. In the book Leadership and Self-Deception, the Arbinger Institute wrote this book. They write a ton of books on leadership and philosophy, and they're wonderful. They go on to define a box in a bit of a different way. You know, we've got boxes that we know that are considered the collective consciousness, such as Melody, who was throwing the luncheon for Harold. That's a society box that they were immediately put in when they arrived at the restaurant. Then we've got these boxes that for people like our sons and daughters, like the story that I just shared with you. And then we have this other box. And I'm talking about the box that we work with ourselves. And the Arbinger Institute calls it we put ourselves in a box because of self-betrayal. They go on to say that an act contrary to what we feel we should do for another automatically betrays ourselves. So if we want to go out and do something for another, and we talk ourselves out of it because we give ourselves reasons and excuses as to why we shouldn't, then we betray ourselves, and in the book it says we automatically put ourselves into a box. Then we start seeing a self-justifying world. We start picking up on all the reasons that justifies our behavior or lack thereof of doing anything about it. And so we start justifying it, and then our view of reality becomes distorted. Is everybody with me so far? Have you had an experience like that where you've actually done this? And in the book, they give some great examples that I'll tell you about in a second. And it says, number 4, so when I betray myself, I enter the box. And over time, certain boxes become characteristics of me, and I carry them around with me, and I'm not even aware that I've put myself in that box anymore. Those justifications and excuses for not having stood up or done what it is that my heart so called for me to do has now betrayed me and put me into this box. And have you ever felt that? Because that's kind of where resentment comes from. And you wonder, why am I feeling this way? Why do I feel resentful? Or we don't even stop to ask ourselves that. We just feel resentful, and we take it out on whoever it is that we were wanting to do something for at the beginning. And it creates this incredible, interesting dance, relationship dance. And then he says, number 6, by being in the box, I provoke others to be in the box. So here we are, we're justifying, we're putting ourselves in the box, we're feeling resentful, and now we're interacting with people in our lives, and we're kind of putting them in a box too, because they're responding to us in that way. There's an example that they give in the book. Let's say mom, her name's Kate, sees her 18-year-old son, Brian, as an irresponsible and disrespectful troublemaker. This is how she sees him. For whatever reason, we don't really know exactly what Brian did to cause Kate to see him that way, but she does. So how do you think Brian generally approaches things if his mom sees him that way all the time? You know, Kate approaches him by disciplining him pretty severely, criticizing him a lot. And when what you see is an irresponsible troublemaker and disrespectful, what do you think he's probably going to do? He's probably going to show up like that. And what started it all in the book and in the story is that he came home late. So he starts coming home late. He comes home late once, and this creates her feeling this way about him. And her feeling this way about him and seeing him that way causes his behavior, or, go with me here, causes his behavior to show up that way because that's how she's choosing to see him. Brian sees his mother, Kate, as dictatorial, unloving, and nosy. If you were to ask Kate, the mom, what she wants more than anything else in this situation, she would say for him to be more responsible and less troublesome. But what effect do you think she's having on him and his behavior if that's the only way she's seeing him? What if she was like the tailor and measured him anew every time she saw him? What effect do you think that would have on his actions? So why would anyone do that? Kate can't see that she's doing that. She can't see that she had put herself into this box until she recognizes, we're going to go through some definite steps later here to talk about how we can get out of the box and dissolve the box altogether. So when Kate starts, if she could start seeing her son as a person to help, as opposed to an object to blame, just imagine how their dynamics would shift. Right now she's seeing him as an object to blame, an object to blame, an object to blame. Oh, see, he's showing up like this because that's my story. What if she saw him as somebody to help? She's his mom. What if she saw him like the tailor, anew and fresh? The relationship would switch just like that. I guarantee it. Have you guys seen the nun that rocked the house and The Voice? Have you seen that going around? There's this story that's gone around this week. I think it's a European voice. I don't know. I don't watch The Voice, so I'm not sure. But it's this clip that's been going around. This nun, dressed in her full nun garb, gets up, and on The Voice, you sing your song, and the judges have their chairs turned. They can't see you. They just hear your voice. And when they think that, you've got talent and that you've got talent enough to work with, they hit this button and it spins their chair around. Well, if you can imagine, just imagine this older nun with her full nun garb on, and she is belting out this song to the best of her ability, and she is rocking the house. She is sounding good, and she's raising the roof, and it didn't take long for the first judge to hit the button, and the clip showed the look on their faces, each one of them, because every one of them hit their buttons throughout her song, and when they spun around and saw that it was this elderly nun in full nun garb just singing up a storm up there, their faces were just great. You know, that nun, you know what she's doing? She dissolved her box. She dissolved all the boxes, actually. I mean, how cool is that? Her aliveness was coming through her. She didn't allow any of societal norms or any occupational norms or anything like that to stop the creative urge that is alive and within her. I think that's pretty cool. You know, really incredible, amazing, miraculous things happen when we do that. When we allow the full flow of spirit to run through us and not block any of our creative urge, when we allow ourselves to act and operate as our soul's calling, when we want to do for another person instead of justifying why we shouldn't and then creating that box and that judgment and that resentment, there is so much miraculous things that come from that. So, Eric, if you could show the next slide. Let me tell you the story of Miles Eckert. You may have heard this story. This little boy who found the $20 bill on his way into a restaurant. He found it in the parking lot. And at first when he picked it up, he was all excited because there was this new Lego game he was going to buy with it that was right around $20. But when he went into the restaurant, he saw a gentleman in there that served in the military because he had his military uniform on. And he changed his mind about the $20 bill. That's Miles, and if you could go to the next slide. This is a note, and I'm sorry you can't read it, but I'm going to read it to you. This is the note. He wrote a little note and wrapped the $20 bill in it and went up to the uniformed officer and gave it to him. And his note said, "Dear soldier, my dad was a soldier. He's in heaven now. I found this $20 in a parking lot when we got here, and we like to pay it forward in my family. So it's your lucky day. Thank you so much for your service. Miles Eckert." That touches me a great deal, because normally with society's box, or with the box the little boy thinks that he belongs in, he would normally have taken that $20 and gone and bought his Lego movie. Except something had happened in his life to give him a bit of a different perception. He lost his dad while fighting in combat across the seas. And so when he saw a uniformed officer, he thought, paying it forward is more important to me than buying a Lego movie, because I've had this experience and I've grown and changed from it. But you know, something miraculous continues to happen from that. Because of that story, it got out, and he and his mother were actually invited to Ellen. Because of what he did, the officer contacted the family, came over and talked to the family, and the mother created this nonprofit organization called Snowball Express. And it's a camp that happens for a week every summer for kids who have lost a parent from being in service to come together and play together and relate to one another and share stories and handle their grief in whatever way they can and need to. And it's a beautiful nonprofit that's serving so many kids in our country right now. So they were invited to the Ellen Show, and Shutterfly, of course, donated $20,000 to this fundraiser. All because Miles found a $20 bill and went into a restaurant, and his heart said, I want to give this to him. So Rumi says, I have come to drag you out of yourself and take you in my heart. I have come to bring out the beauty that you never knew you had and to lift you like a prayer to the sky. That Rumi saying reminds me of Miles. So now we're entering into this idea of dissolving the box. Box? What box? What if there was no box? Santosh Sharma says, thinking outside of the box doesn't really serve us either. So I'm going to share with you what Santosh said. If you ask a thief to think outside of the box, what do you think he would do? Probably he would steal better and find new ways to manipulate the laws, because he still responds from the platform of being the thief. Think about it. Tell a thief, think outside the box. Well, he's probably going to come up with even better ways to steal. Santosh says, but if the same person dissolves the box, he will no longer limit and abuse himself. He will realize that stealing is just a trap from which he is responding, and that he is much more than a miserly thief. At the same time, he gets the designing intelligence to reposition himself. It's not just an incremental, but a radical shift. If he were to dissolve the box, he gets to not even think as a thief anymore. Do you see where that comes into play when we dissolve the box altogether? So out-of-the-box solutions do not solve the problem, Santosh says. They only create bigger and trickier problems in the future. The answer lies in dissolving the box altogether. It is important for an intelligent, inclusive, and sustainable growth for ourselves, for our community, for our world. Let's dissolve the boxes. We don't need to come together and think outside the box on how we can get restaurants to no longer assume that when two African American people walk in and say we're here for the luncheon, then they're here to work it. Let's dissolve that box altogether. So how do we do that? How do we dissolve those boxes? We did an exercise in class this past week in our Beyond Limits class. We're going to do it real quick here. Think of a desire. Think of something that you desire to accomplish, something you desire to obtain. Just close your mind, close your eyes, open your mind, close your eyes. You'll never hear me. Yeah, you'll never hear me say close your mind. So close your eyes, open your mind, and think of a desire. Hold it right there in your conscious awareness. Just hang on to it. Now, you got that desire? Has everybody got that desire? You're clear? Now I want you to think of all the reasons that society comes up with right now or would come up with to tell you it's not possible to accomplish that desire. What are some of those reasons? Now think about some of those reasons. I can tell you an example if you're having a difficult time coming up with one. Let's say I have a desire to be thin and fit, svelte. And let's say some of the society reasons as to why I can't do that is there's not enough money. You don't have enough money to do that. It takes money to do that. Or there's not enough time. You're really busy. You don't have time. You don't have time to prepare good food and to work out. You're big boned. You'll never be svelte. There's some examples of society's reasons as to why I couldn't achieve that desire. Now you guys have those in your mind? Now I want you to think of what your own excuses and reasons are right now as to why you don't have that desire in your life. Some may be exactly like society's. Some may be a little different. Most of mine sound a whole lot like society's. Not enough time, not enough money, no energy. What are some other reasons? Think about your desire and what are the reasons and excuses that you are currently telling yourself that's keeping you from accomplishing and achieving that. So now what we have is a blueprint. That, my friends, in front of you is your blueprint for dissolving the excuses, dissolving the blocks, dissolving the boxes, and making the way, clearing the way for you to accomplish and achieve that which you desire. You know, we do this by affirming. You know, if one of mine was there's not enough money, I can affirm, of course there is. I live in an abundant, infinite universe. I am fully provided for and taken care of. If I have this desire to take care of myself in this way, I know that I am fully and completely provided for. There's an affirmation that I can tell myself 30 times a day if I want to. If I really want to achieve that desire, I am going to create affirmations that cancel out all those excuses and all those reasons that we're telling ourselves that we can't achieve what it is that we want to achieve. You know, we get to decide. It's our choice. I can keep telling myself those excuses. I can keep letting those excuses keep me from reaching my desire. It's my choice. It's the law of reciprocity. Whatever I'm going to focus my energy on, whatever I invest my attention on, that's what I'm going to experience. So now you have your blueprint. I encourage you to take your blueprint into your prayer and meditation time, into your spiritual practices, into your daily work. Take that blueprint and start affirming. Start creating affirmations into your prayer work. And I guarantee you, you will accomplish and achieve your desire because that's the way the law works. So slide 7, we have a quote from Robert Holden. One new perception, one fresh thought, one act of surrender, one change of heart, one leap of faith can change your life forever. Here's somebody that I believe doesn't really operate with many boxes, and that's Matthew McConaughey. How many people got to hear or see or read about later his acceptance speech when he won Best Actor? Pretty incredible. Matthew McConaughey, no boxes. This man says the 3 things that you need each day: someone to look up to, something to look forward to, and someone to chase. And he said the someone to look up to for him was God, the divine. He said that it is a scientific fact. Now, this is Matthew McConaughey, y'all, talking on a stage in front of almost all of the really successful, highly celebrated movie stars of this time. He says that it is a scientific fact that gratitude reciprocates. Does everybody in this room agree with that? Scientific fact. When you got God, you got a friend, and he said that friend is you. When you have the divine in your heart and you take the time to touch into that, to enter into the flow, to recognize and know and unify yourself with that which we know is the infinite intelligence and love and lover of all beings, seen and unseen. When we do that, absolutely everything is possible. Someone to look forward to is family. What do you look forward to? Who is it that you want to be the best you for? Is it yourself? Is it the divine? Is it your family? Whatever it is. Something to look forward to. And then my favorite, something to chase. And this is what he said about that. When he was 15 years old, somebody asked him, "Who's your hero?" And he said, that's a pretty serious question. Give me a couple of weeks to think about that, and I'll get back to you. A couple of weeks go by, and that person said, "Okay, who's your hero?" And he says, "I've thought about it, and it's me in 10 years. It's me when I'm 25. Now, we covered this in my last talk at the beginning of the month. Mary Mann and Morrissey talks about it too, about picture that dream that you have, and then picture who you are in that dream. How are you acting? What are you thinking? What words are you using? What's your behavior look like? What do you look like? Now see yourself as that." So that's what Matthew's doing. and his chasing his hero himself in 25 years, or in 10 years as 25. And then when he was 25, he actually ran into the same person that he ran into when he was 15. And she said, so, are you your hero? And he said, no, absolutely not. My hero is now 10 years from now when I'm 35. I thought it was so cool how the similarities were so profound, just like what Mary teaches. So picture that, your desire, your dream. Who are you? And focus and become that. That's what Matthew does. He steps into his hero. What he holds in his vision as his hero, he becomes that. And then he always puts it forward so that he's always chasing it. He's always working towards it. I absolutely love that. My beloved husband, Tony, while we've been in these classes, he's coined a wonderful phrase that I love. It says, I am so happy and grateful now that the vibrations of my being is in harmony with the vibrations of my dream. So that's how we do it. That's how we do it, y'all. The vibration of my being is in harmony with the vibration of my dream. How do you think we get there? We've got our blueprint. Affirm. Go into prayer work. Be consistent with it. Believe in it. See yourself. See yourself as who you are in where you've reached and accomplished your dream. See yourself. Hear yourself. Listen to yourself. And then step into that. So this past Thursday was not only the first day of spring, the spring vernal equinox, it was also International Day of Happiness. How many of y'all knew that? International Day of Happiness. So Pharrell Williams, in his song Happy, what they did, and this is just so unbelievably cool, and I want every one of you guys sometime this week to look this up, all right? That's your assignment. So International Day of Happiness, almost every country in this entire world participated. And it's a span of one day where almost every country sent in a video of the people of their country singing and dancing to his song Happy. And it's just spectacular. I mean, if you think you're having a bad day, if you think you've got something to complain about, or if things are not going your way, takes 2 seconds. Go to this website. Go to the website and watch any number of the videos from any one of the countries, because it will lift your spirits absolutely. So I watched all of them this past week. It was an amazing week. I watched them all, and they're just so cool because not only did I get to watch really happy people from almost every country in the whole wide world dance and sing to this song, but I also got to see what the countries were like and what the people that lived in those countries were like. It was like a little geography history lesson for me on top of happiness. So I highly recommend you doing that. So dissolving those boxes, what do you think the most powerful way to dissolve those boxes are right here in this moment? Anybody got an idea? Delete it, yep. And what's the best way we can do that? Because we know that the only moment, yep, replace it with something else. The only moment that matters in our life, the only power that we have at our use is right here in this moment. So how about we get happy, y'all? You ready to do this? We're going to get happy, and I'm going to invite Jennifer to guide us into getting happy. And if you're happy right now, let's get more happy. All right. You guys ready? Up.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon, I could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm clap along if you feel like a room without a roof.